So, in this section, we'll talk about the importance of population. Now, the ancient Chinese gave particularly importance to human capital. Okay, so we'll try to understand this from two perspectives. The first is the attitude of sages and ruling class towards the population, and then the second is the governmental work on the population data. So in the Analects, very interestingly, it is recorded that Confucius would bow to anyone who possessed the tables of population. In other words, Confucius very much valued the knowledge of the demographic data. This is because the knowledge of the number of people is an important element of human resources, and it is the precondition to manage the country well. In the Rights of Zhou, there's a book called The Rights of Zhou, and it is recorded that when the number of people, which is data, right? When the number of people was presented to the emperor, he would kneel down to accept it. I mean, this just shows how much the importance the emperor attached to the knowledge of population. So for this reason, the people are regarded as the heaven of the emperor. The people are regarded as the heaven of emperor. But now, just how much effort was put into the work of knowing the population then? Now, as recorded by the Rights of Zhou, the population data was, collected from three levels of residential areas, namely urban, suburb, and the countryside. So in each of the residential areas, the officers would gather data on multiple dimensions. For example, gender ratio, number of people in various social classes and age bands, distribution of healthy and sick people. And every year, birth and mortality was also recorded to arrive at an estimate of population change. Now, apart from the obvious demographic data, the government also had specific departments to keep a detailed account of people's possessions, such as livestock, carriages, and vehicles. In terms of the use of data and frequency of data update, every 3 years, the Bureau would report the census data to the Department of Justice and make comparison. So all the data eventually was presented to the emperor in the winter, and as you already know, the emperor would accept it kneeling. Now, in addition, in the imperial historian, as well as the auditor and prime minister, would all keep duplicates of the data in order to help the administration of the emperor. Now, here we have we have an example of the gender ratio collected and measured for each state during the Zhou dynasty, and is also provided in the Rights of Zhou. So it seems that in most of the states, the number of female was greater than that of male. Now, you may wonder why was that the case? Well, I don't really know, but I can only speculate that this was because of the hard work and nerve strain that have mainly fallen upon men during that time. But anyway, we can see that the government had made a great effort in collecting and compiling the population data. Okay, so this is easy to understand, very similar to what we do today as well. But the question is, why? What is the benefit of data collection? Why would the ancient sages and emperors put so much emphasis on the knowledge of human capital? Also, why would the emperor kneel to accept the population data? I don't think anybody today would even, think about showing such high respect to database. I mean, for us, it's only a bunch of numbers stored in the cloud. and we can pull it and perform some regression analysis whenever we want. It's just just one click away, I guess. Well, in terms of the usage of the data, the modern social science workers are no different to the ancient. But the philosophy behind the sages and emperors' behavior is quite different from ours. Now, we need to understand that in the past, people pursued a career in the government in order to serve the people, not themselves, but only to serve the people. Although there were some bad fruits, indeed, who enriched themselves at the expense of the welfare of the people, but they were condemned heavily by the people and by the scholar, and they were set as an example to warn the future generations. Whereas the honest and hard-working officials were remembered and respected even till today. So the general concept was being in the government gives you an opportunity to work for the people. Therefore, the population data was not only treated as intelligence, but also something very sacred and honorable, because it represents the whole purpose of the existence of the government. Despite the lacking of electronic spreadsheet and cloud storage technology, the ancient government understood the importance of having an accurate census data. For example, in the book of Zhonglun, the book of Zhonglun, compiled by the philosopher Xu Gan of the Eastern Han Dynasty of China, is recorded that the accuracy of the census data is the foundation to achieve equality of public labor. And the public labor in the past refers to labor services that is required by the government, such as infrastructure work and agricultural work. Now, because this type of work requires healthy male of certain age, so in order to ensure equality in recruitment, it is essential to have a full picture of the demographic distribution. But the modern government also has put enormous effort in achieving the highest accuracy of census data, right? Because people are, dealing with numbers on such a large scale. A small error in the large population can create a very severe deviation. Now, with the exception of military conscription in certain countries, the compulsory public service recruitment of the ancient time is no longer applicable today. However, the essence of equality is still the same. Now, taking government spending as an example, in the US, the federal government bases a large amount of its spending decisions on census data. Researchers concluded that in 2015 fiscal year, 132 government programs used information from the census to determine how to allocate more than $675 billion of funding. And much of it, for programs that serve low-income families, including the Head Start program, Medicare, supplemental nutrition assistance programs, and etc. And also, funding for colleges and reduced price school lunch programs. Highway spending also was apportioned according to this census data. So anyway, data accuracy is important in serving the people. Now, Zhonglun also says that the equality of the labor is the foundation of the industry prosperity. So, on the surface, prosperity is achieved through recruiting, enough labor for the public project. But the deeper philosophy behind this is that equality is what maintains the harmony of the society. Prosperity is not simply measured by GDP, but also people's mental status. So, with the society in harmony and people being comfortable in their livelihood, the nation will be prosperous. I think we have spent a lot of time to discuss this point during the previous lectures as well. So all in all, we should view the benefit of data accuracy not only as a mathematical solution to fair government spending, but also as a function and foundation of achieving social harmony and stability. So only this way we can say that the administration of government is well performed. So if we look at the performance of the government in a top-down fashion, okay, we'll see that the government must first understand the people. On the one hand, there is, this is presented in a form of census data accuracy, but on the other hand, it is the understanding of people's need. For example, what makes them happy? What makes them worry? And what is their true need? So much of the same way that, parents consider for their children's happiness. This is not only about financial support, by the way, but more about mental need. I mean, after all, as we have discussed extensively, happiness comes from the practice of virtue and personal cultivation instead of wealth. So this is why Mencius put the people as the most important element of government, and also to gain the mass of the people is the only way to become emperor, i.e., the government. Now, to explain why, the knowledge of population is fundamental to the government's work, Xu Gan also illustrated a number of practical usage of population data. It says to distribute the land, to impose the tax, to produce the products, to regulate salaries and wages, to do the public work, to raise the army, to establish the national institutions, to adjust the household economy, and to observe the social and moral laws, and to set aside the punishment. All these are the result of a careful study of the number of population. So, I think we can conclude that population is indeed the basis of social, political, and economic adjustments.